The view from modern psychology. Let me at this point say something about why modern Western psychology should take note of the teachings of these men and women. The very fact that I have to spend time on such an exercise illustrates not only the artificial distinction we, in the West, make between psychology, religion, and philosophy, but also the narrowness with which much modern, Western psychology goes about its business. It is this narrowness that leads people to ask why I, raised as I am within the Western psychological tradition, should concern myself with what is sometimes described as the unscientific mystical nonsense which these teachings represent. In the West, we have the habit of regarding ourselves as at the pinnacle of human achievement. We tend to see history as the process of humankind's steady climb from superstition and primitive notions about the world and ourselves to a sophisticated body of knowledge which represents a true and objective picture of how things really are. In defense of this way of seeing things, we point to the achievements of modern science and technology, and to the extraordinary discoveries which have fueled the progress we are making in learning to manipulate and control virtually every aspect of our physical world. But there are two interrelated fallacies here. The first is that progress of itself means that earlier ideas, earlier ways of looking at the world, were necessarily wrong. Much depends upon the concerns that lay behind these ideas. If your concern is to demonstrate that the world is simply a vast machine, produced by a combination of blind chance and natural selection, then you are going to interpret the evidence turned up by your science in the terms dictated by this concern. On the other hand, if your concern is to demonstrate that the world has other dimensions, and that it is these dimensions that give meaning and purpose to life, then you are going to interpret the evidence in a very different way. A helpful analogy is to think of a car and its driver. If you are only interested in the mechanics of the car, you spend your time with your head under the bonnet and are not concerned with the man or woman who sits inside it. If you should chance to think about them at all, you dismiss them as non-existent because they are not made of the steel and plastic which is all your equipment is designed to detect. On the other hand, if you are interested in those who drive the car, you open the door and look inside, and begin to see very different things. It would be wrong to dismiss the importance of looking under the bonnet. Looking under the bonnet is appropriate when it comes to tinkering with the car's mechanics. But similarly, it would be wrong to dismiss the importance of looking inside the car. Looking inside the car is appropriate when it comes to knowing the driver. Neither set of actions is wrong in any absolute sense. They both have their uses, depending upon the kind of questions we are asking. But although the person looking under the bonnet has the easier task, it is the person looking inside who is asking the more fundamental question, and who will find the answer that explains not only the driver but also the car itself, since it is the human mind that ultimately is responsible for both. The second fallacy is that apparent progress in some areas of our knowledge is progress in all areas. Modern science and technology have made great strides in studying the material composition of inanimate things, as has modern biology in studying the material composition of living things. But comparable strides have not taken place in studying human psychology. In fact, the detailed mapping of the human mind and of the states of human consciousness carried out by Eastern sages in those remote times is unequaled in complexity and precision by anything that our modern Western psychology has attempted, although we fail to find here anything comparable to the mapping of mental states carried out in the East. It is right to say that for observation of human thinking and behavior, it is hard to surpass the insights of a Shakespeare or Goethe or even a Molière. The literature produced by these writers has survived over the centuries not just because of the beauty of its language, but because of the insights it gives us into the human condition, and because we find in it a series of mirrors which reflect, for us, the realities of our own experience. Literature of this magnitude shows that men and women were asking and trying to answer the same questions about human psychology and the origin and destiny of human life as we are asking and trying to answer today. No, it would be wrong to think that just because we moderns have successfully looked inside the atom and penetrated outer space, we have also successfully looked inside the human mind and penetrated the mysteries of inner space.